back to the Football Appreciation YouTube channel. Now, today I'm doing my most overrated Premier League 11. So I'm going to pick 11 players, one in each position, who either I feel like fans overrate, so fans from that club, or just the media in general kind of perceive them to be like a really good footballer when in reality their stats just aren't that. You know what I mean? So yeah, subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing stuff about the Champions League final. I'm going to do another one of these as well, but most underrated 11. And there'll be loads of videos coming out. So goalkeeper is kind of the hardest one for me because it's so hard to like judge goalkeepers based on stats. I've picked Bernd Leno. I'm not going to go into too much detail on Leno. You can go watch my goalkeeper tier list. I kind of explain it in more detail, but I think Leno's one of those goalkeepers that Arsenal fans kind of put in the elite goalkeeper category where I just don't think he belongs. But go watch that video if you want more of a detailed one on Leno. Right back, I've gone. This is really harsh. I know it is. But I've gone for Matty Cash. Now I'm not. Again, let me make this clear. Not all these players are bad footballers. Like Matty Cash is not a terrible footballer, but I remember when like a month ago when people were debating their England squads, people were genuinely putting Matty Cash in like in conversation and saying he was one of the signings of the year. I'm not saying Matty Cash is a bad player. All his defensive numbers are jacked. This is like normally what you see from like Wan-Bissaka. But he has this reputation of being this like really good attacking fullback, and it's like he's just the complete opposite. He's a really good defensive fullback, but he can't really dribble. He's terrible on the ball and doesn't really offer anything going forward. So I'm not saying Matty Cash is a bad footballer. Let me make that clear. But I just don't think he's as good as, or he's not what people perceive him to be. Do you know what I mean? Now left back's going to piss off every Arsenal fan that, if any Arsenal fans watch this channel. But I've gone for Kieran Tierney. Did I just spell Kieran Tierney's name wrong? Tierney. Anyway, Kieran Tierney might be the most overrated player I think I've ever seen in my life. Now, I'm not saying Kieran Tierney's a terrible footballer. Let me make that clear. And whenever I watch him, I think he looks fun to watch. And it should be acknowledged that these numbers are distorted by the fact he's kind of played left centre-back, also left centre-back, left-back and left wing-back. But even if you compare it to centre-backs and full-backs, his defensive numbers are terrible. He's not very good in the air for someone that's quite tall for a full-back. He's not that good on the ball. He's not a great dribbler. His progressive passes are quite bad, which normally his progressive passes are quite high, but pass completion's low. It means they play risky passes. But that's not the case. I just don't really see why people put Kieran Tierney in like the kind of top 3 Premier League left back category. I just don't think he is at all. I know Arsenal fans will disagree, but I just don't see him in that level. I've gone for Nathan Ake left centre back. Now I know Nathan Ake's hardly played this season, but I haven't seen anyone criticise this signing. Like, I'm a big Man City kind of supporter. I like the way Man City do business, but I've never really seen anyone criticise this Nathan Ake signing. They paid 40 million euros for Nathan Ake. Like, I think that kind of shows it all, really. I don't even think I need to explain anything else. I've gone for Johnny Evans right centre back. Now, I'm not saying Johnny Evans is a bad player. However, I remember I was watching the FA Cup final, and I remember when Johnny Evans went off, the commentator said he's Leicester's most important defender. And I remember thinking that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Like, Johnny Evans is very good in the air. He's a good leader. He's okay on the ball. But I'm sorry, yeah, if you compare those numbers to Cagliari Soyuncu's numbers or Wesley Fofana's numbers, who are just mental, I don't get what this weird media obsession is with Johnny Evans. Like, he's a very good squad player for Leicester, especially if they want to. If Leicester want to be like a league-winning team, Johnny Evans is like an amazing squad player. But Johnny Evans to me is nowhere near a starting centre-back for a top 4 club. He's a very solid centre-back, especially in a back 3. But I just don't get where this narrative is that he's their best centre-back. Like, I mean, Leicester fans know what you think, but I don't think he is, to be honest. Okay, this one's going to annoy people as well, but I've gone for James Ward-Prowse as my first sentiment. Now, James Ward-Prowse, you look at James Ward-Prowse's numbers and think, wow, he's got 8 goals, 7 assists and a bad Southampton side. But he's massively overperforming his expected goals and expected assists. Most of that is because he takes set pieces, so he gets a lot of assists that are quite low value. Plus, if you look at his non-penalty XG, it's actually 2, so he does take a lot of penalties. And if you look at like his numbers that aren't just goals and assists, so like these ones here, for a centre mid, his pass completion is awful, and again, he's not really doing many progressive passes, and he's not a good dribbler. His defensive numbers are kind of meh. Well, they're actually no, they're just really bad. And I genuinely think if you took Oriel Romeu out of Southampton, they'd suffer way more than James Ward-Prowse. And the amount of people I've seen say that James Ward-Prowse should start for England now because Jordan Henderson's injured is mental to me. Especially these old school pundits. Like, Jude Bellingham is 10 times the player. Like, hang on, let me get Jude Bellingham's numbers up just for context. Jude Bellingham's 9 years younger. Look at how ridiculous Jude Bellingham is compared to James Ward-Prowse. I'm not having a dig at James Ward-Prowse. I'm not saying he's a rubbish footballer, but I just don't think he's an England player for me. And set pieces massively distort him. Although he is an elite free kick taker, don't get me wrong. Okay, this one might be the most controversial one. But I'm going to go for Declan Rice as my centre mid. Now, I've already done a video on Declan Rice, but I thought I should bring it up. Declan Rice is one of those players I think everyone rates because he's English and kind of like he seems like a nice bloke. And I'm not saying he's an awful footballer, but when you look at his stats, he's just so average in everything. You know, he obviously doesn't contribute anything going forward, or he doesn't like receive progressive passes or get loads of touches or whatever. But he's not a good dribbler. He doesn't carry the ball forward that amazingly, and he's not a good passer, and he's not doing anything creative with his passes. And his defensive numbers are like they're okay, but like if the reason I'm putting him in is because I hear every Man United fan, every Chelsea fan go, "Oh, he's the best DM in the Premier League. We should sign him." Blah blah. There are so many better DMs you could get with way better value. I don't get what this obsession is with Declan Rice. I'm not saying he's a rubbish player. I'm not. But he will be... You know how everyone goes, Harry Maguire's a decent player, but he's not an £80 million player? That's exactly what Declan Rice is. I just don't get everyone's obsession with Declan Rice, personally. Okay. Let me know what you think there. Maybe I'm being harsh, but I'm going to go for Doucouré, right, left centre mid. Again, Doucouré is one of those players that everyone rates because he kind of... Like, I remember there was one season at Watford where he got like 10 goals. And Everton paid 25 million for him. And he's about to turn 29, and it's the most Everton signing ever. It's like the Gylfi Sigurdsson signing. Again, Doucouré is just one of those players that's not good at anything. Like he hasn't been scoring those goals that he did in that one season for Watford. He's not good on the ball, but he's not a good carrier of the ball either. And he gets actually a decent amount of progressive passes received, which shows that he's getting in decent areas but not really doing anything with it. He's a decent presser, but his tackling interceptions numbers are low. He's not dominant in the air. I don't see what Abdoulaye Doucouré offers to Everton. And I think if they want to level up, you kind of need Doucouré to be a bench player more than an attacking player for me. Just me. I'm going to go for Gini Wijnaldum as my final centre mid. Now, before Liverpool fans start crying, I think Liverpool have done the best thing letting Gini Wijnaldum go. I think Liverpool are a much better side without Gini Wijnaldum. And I'm not saying Gini Wijnaldum's a terrible player. He's not. He'd start for most Premier League teams, but he's kind of got this reputation in the media of being this goal-scoring midfielder who scores in big moments, and he's this really good defender and blah. His defensive numbers are embarrassingly bad. Fine. He doesn't score though either. Okay, fine. He must be this elite passing, dribbling midfielder like Tanguy Ndombele or something. His pass completion's really good, but his progressive pass is really low, which again to me says that he's passing the ball, but it's very safe passes. He's a decent dribbler. He's not a bad dribbler, but he's not a good one even. I think Liverpool have done really smart business by getting rid of him at 30, and I trust Liverpool to replace him very well. And I just don't really see what... I've seen all these mainstream pundits say like, "Oh, Liverpool, that's such a bad... Why are you letting Gini Wijnaldum go?" I think it's a great decision to let him go, personally. I mean, let me know, Liverpool fans, what you think, but yeah. So for my first strike, I'm going to go with Richarlison. Now, I love Richarlison. Genuinely, I do. I remember when Everton signed him, they got a lot of stick for it. And I kind of supported him and said it made sense because his numbers were really good. And it was kind of... It was Everton signing someone young for once. But he just hasn't kicked on in the way I personally would have expected him to. Now, I think Carlo Ancelotti keeps playing him central, which for me isn't his best position. But for a guy that's, with add-ons, a £50 million player... Look, he has underperformed his XG. He has gotten lucky this season, at least in a goal-scoring thing. But he has scored some penalties, which, obviously helps. But I look at Richarlison and think he hasn't kicked on. And don't get me wrong, he's a really good presser. He's a really good defensive forward, and he is a good dribbler. Like, he'll never lose that. But he's very wasteful with the ball. He's not... Everton fans will be able to explain this better than me, but I don't think he's the one player that I thought Carlo Ancelotti will get the best out of him, especially with James coming in, and I just don't think he's kicked on in the way that I would have expected him to. Yeah, I still feel like he has this really good reputation among like just your normal fans. Maybe I'm being harsh. I don't know. Now, for the final one, I'm going to put Jamie Vardy. Now, let me make this clear. I'm not saying Jamie Vardy's a rubbish footballer. If anything, Jamie Vardy's an amazing footballer. But Jamie Vardy was one of those players that everyone was putting in their team of the seasons and all that. And look, I think Leicester have done amazingly well considering how much Jamie Vardy's dropped off this season, or at least in the second half of this season. You know, his non-penalty XG is 12. I love Jamie Vardy, genuinely do. He's an amazing story. He seems like a nice bloke. I mean, apart from some of the dodgy stuff he's done off the pitch, but he's not that mad presser that he used to be. He doesn't offer anything aerially. He's atrocious on the ball. He's not in hold-up play, and his finishing's dropped off a bit this season. And he's 35. Like, Leicester is so over-reliant on this guy. And look, for me, Iheanacho is a better, well-rounded forward for me. I'm not like look at Iheanacho's numbers. Like, I'm not saying that Vardy's a bad player, but I think Iheanacho is the long-term future of that football club. And people still, all these mainstream pundits go, oh, this whenever Jamie Vardy's playing, they're not blah blah. They've got a very good striker at the club already in Iheanacho, and I don't think Vardy's as important as people say he is anymore, and that's a good thing for Leicester. They've got a replacement already at the club, and I trust them to go and get a Jamie Vardy replacement, another one as well. Like, Leicester are just a brilliantly run club, but there's still this obsession over Jamie Vardy, and I don't think he's someone that needs to be obsessed over anymore. I think he should kind of be not phased out, but he probably should become a bit more of a squad player. There's nothing wrong with that. He's an amazing one to have, but I just think and I know I'm being very harsh on Jamie Vardy here, but I just think he gets bigged up so much by the media, when in reality he's kind of on the decline. I don't know, maybe I'm being harsh. And Leicester have been a bit more defensive this season, so I know that hasn't helped Jamie Vardy. And Maddison's output dropping off won't have helped Jamie Vardy either, but that's my 11. Let me know what you think. I'm sure a lot of you will disagree. That's completely fine. But comment below who you think should be in this 11 or why none of these players should be in. I'm sure a lot of people are going to get annoyed about Declan Rice. Yeah, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to have an underrated 11, so maybe I'll pick someone that you actually like. But yeah, subscribe to the channel and peace.